Cattle farmer says new livestock grazing method could save grasslands and reverse desertification. This is authored by Autumn Spredeman via Epoch Times on Zero Hedge. Livestock farming has been at the forefront of media and environmentalist attacks for decades. That's because many researchers insist the United States has reached a tipping point with animal husbandry, citing extended drought conditions as evidence. The study this year, overly dry weather across the United States, broke records. In February, findings from a UCLA-led study suggest drought conditions in the American West was the worst in 1,200 years. Subsequently, livestock farmers have found themselves in a hotbed of environmentalists' ire. The drought crisis has drawn heavy frowns and finger wags from orthodox scientific community, which points to livestock grazing as a significant part of the problem, because for the majority of scientists there's a formula: more animals grazing equals more climate effects, period. However, advocates of regenerative grazing have been gathering data and coming forward. They're sharing evidence that shows holistic grazing methods can actually improve soil quality, health, and water retention in grassland ecosystems. Further, when done correctly, some evidence suggests that livestock grazing can even reverse the effects of desertification. Known as the process through which fertile soil becomes desert, think tanks from nearly every sector have spent years troubleshooting the fast desertification of America's grasslands. Meanwhile, advocates of regenerative agriculture say livestock grazing is the key to preventing what's left of the 775 million acres of iconic prairie in the United States. Eric Hansberger told Epoch Times, "We practice regenerative grazing by using total grazing techniques geared towards helping the soils and grass grow healthy and quickly." Hansberger manages a cattle operation in the Hickok Ranch in the pastoral plains of Karnes County, Texas, originally purchased by the cousin of Western folk hero Wild Bill Hickok. And the picture that we have of the cows grazing are from Hickok hamburgers. So Wild Bill Hickok in 1878, the ranch has been in the family ever since. And over the past 144 years, they've learned some valuable lessons about cattle. Hansberger explains that regenerative grazing has proven beneficial in what's mostly been a bone-dry year in Texas. The main difference between the method he employs at Hickok Ranch and traditional grazing is the end goal. For most ranchers, grazing is just a method to feed cows. Yet, with the regenerative approach, he added, objective is to return as many nutrients to the soil as possible. Quote, "With traditional grazing, cattle graze a large pasture and we're allowed to eat whatever they please. They're allowed to eat whatever they please," Hansberger said. "The problem with this approach is the natural fertilizers produced by cows are spread out and not absorbed completely into the soil. Moreover, the traditional approach, cows can wander back to areas where the grass and other prairie plants are attempting to recover, hindering growth. He says the cows will eat and stomp the grass down while it's trying to grow back. But with the regenerative method, Hansberger said cattle are concentrated into smaller patches using portable electric fencing. Patches for grazing are between 3 to 5 acres in size, and the cows consume over a 3 to 4 hour period before moving to the next designated grazing section." He said since the concentration of cattle is so dense, they're more likely to stomp the manure, urine, and uneaten or dead grass back into the soil. This is what's known as hoof impact. Hansberger maintains that the hoof impact of natural fertilizer eliminates the need for chemicals and allows the grass to grow back quicker and healthier. While this tweaked approach to livestock grazing may seem simple, it was not so obvious to the world of ranching or environmental science since 2013. When holistic land management pioneer Alan Savory took the stage at TED event in 2013, he shocked the world when he said more livestock grazing was needed, not less, to reverse the effects of desertification on global grasslands. He was born in Zimbabwe, and Alan Savory watched the vast prairies of his native Africa slowly turn to desert beneath the hooves of animals. It spurred him to become a rangeland ecologist and develop holistic land management techniques involving animal grazing during the 1960s. Today, Savory's institute has 48 global hubs and more than 12,000 farmers trained in his regenerative grazing method. His institute's over 13 million hectares have benefited from the transition to his land management methods, which mimic patterns used by animals in the wild. Herd animals in nature tend to graze in dense groups and continue moving as a defense against predators, and for ranchers like Hansberger, the proof is right beneath his feet. He said, "While I'm not a grassland expert, I work and manage grass daily." Now back to mob grazing days. Water retention is paramount when it comes to reversing desertification and the effects of drought. Grasslands are an essential part of that process. Largely underrepresented as an ecosystem, nearly a third of the planet's land, more than 12 billion acres, comprises vast prairie landscapes. And those tall, swaying grasses do a lot more than just feed animals and create picturesque backgrounds. Deep-rooted perennial grasses are like magic for water retention, said Alex Melvin, founder of Permaculture. He says Melvin business focused on regenerative agriculture and self-sustaining food systems. He explained that during heavy rainfall, deep-rooting native grasses slow down water, preventing excessive runoff, and in turn groundwater also becomes replenished. Melvin said it makes the landscape like a sponge. He also agrees with Savory's method, saying that it's necessary to take cows back to their mob grazing days, offering an example of how wild bison used to feed on the American Great Plains. Melvin elaborated the near constant rotation used with the holistic approach maximizes photosynthesis for plants by not allowing animals like cows to hunker down in one spot. Using livestock in regenerative agriculture is more than throwing a bunch of cows out on the grass field, he said. Even players within the energy sector have recognized the benefits of a holistic approach to livestock grazing. New approach vital? United Energy Trading, UET, is working with U.S. communities that want to improve the health of grasslands and sequester carbon through the use of grazing method called twice over grazing. And this is on Zero Hedge by Autumn Spreadman via Epoch Times. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.